Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho, que tengo miedo tenerte y perderte después. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho, que tengo miedo tenerte y perderte después. Quiero tenerte muy cerca, mirarme en tus ojos y estar junto a ti. Piensa que tal vez mañana yo estaré muy lejos de aquí. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho, que tengo miedo tenerte y perderte después. Quiero tenerte muy cerca, mirar.
Chef.
That we are going to keep the high season busy the entire.
We have friends coming over in June. Will there be more rain in June?
Yes, yes. June is the rain season in Cuba. Welcome to Havana City.
Okay.
It's the central part of the capital of Cuba, that is Havana. The central part is preceded by a very important monument. It's about Jose Marti. Jose Marti is our national hero. He belongs to the War of Independence that marked the time of the year 1868 to 1895. So he was a very smart and clever person. He was not so experienced on fighting, but he was the one who organized the wealthy landowners in Cuba that were opposing to the conquest and colonization of the Spanish crown.
Yeah.
So he was one of the most important figures and leaders during those periods of time.
His name
What
is?
was his name?
Jose Marti.
Jose Marti.
Jose Marti. He's a descendant from a Catalan family. Around this park, you're going to see many royal palms. The royal palms, which are the taller one,
yes.
are the national tree.
Oh, okay.
We can say that in Cuba we have around 200 species of palms, okay?
Wow.
And the royal is one of the most important one for us.
Beautiful. beautiful buildings.
Yes.
Oh yes. I always say that Cuba is very important from the architectural point of view.
Yes.
So for every architecture, it's very good to come to Cuba for those people who study architecture, because here we have all kinds of varieties
Yes.
of
Yeah.
architectural elements. For example, we have in front of us the English hotel that was conceived during the year 1845. And as you can see outside and inside of it, it has lots of Moorish element.
Ah.
It means that the Arab people were also, they also immigrated to Cuba during
Yeah.
the second half of the 19th century.
Ah.
So it's a lovely, nice building.
Ah.
In the corner, we have the Telegrafo Hotel, like Telegraph
Yes.
Hotel.
Uh-huh.
That was the first one in having telephone system inside the rooms during the foundation of the hotel. That was in the year 1898. So it's one of the
Oh, the
oldest
earliest.
hotels
Yeah.
in Havana. Coming to Cuba is like coming back in time.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
that's
You know, we have many traditional themes, and one of those things are especially those old cars that were
Oh,
brought
I
from
love them.
American
Yeah.
factories during the 50s, and they are still moving in our streets.
Yeah.
We have a great percent of them that are in very good shape, and some others not. But the Cuban government created like a kind of company where tourists can rent those cars. We are going to see an example during the afternoon.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
So in the case of this park, it's also a very common place for the Cuban citizens. Why? Because, well, first of all, the national sport in Cuba is baseball.
Yeah.
And there are many men who gather here. They concentrate here just to discuss about the different baseball series
Okay.
we have in Cuba. And right now we are having many baseball games in
Okay.
different sections, not only in Havana but all over the country. So they come here just to discuss a little bit about who's going to win. I prefer this team, I prefer the other, and in that
What
way.
did you do?
Industrial is the name of Havana's team. Beautiful buildings in
It is.
Havana.
Yeah, it's lovely.
A great theater of Havana. Right now
Okay.
it's an opera house,
Yeah.
and it's also used for the classic ballet.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's having a great restoration. You are going to see many important buildings in Havana City and also downtown, of course, that are having a great project of restorations. Ensure to keep the facade of each building, and maybe the interior area will be transformed into another thing. In the case of the
Okay.
theater, it's going to maintain the same function as a theater. But we have another example that is the national capital.
It's,
In the case
it's
of
good.
the national capital, Havana, the Cuban government, in 1920.
Yeah, man. Good.
And right now,
Cheers.
is having a restoration, and maybe the Cuban parliament is going to move to this building in few years after they finish with the history. Well, the Coco taxi is one of the most cheapest transportation.
The Coco.
Coco taxi, like coconut.
Coconut, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We have a great sense of humor in
Yeah.
Cuba,
Yeah.
so we are like this. We are always joking, making many things. It costs only 50 cents per
Really?
kilometer. Okay, 1950, the construction of the Great Theater of Havana. The Cuban citizens is the result of the different immigrations we had since the very beginning of the colonial times.
Yeah.
The influence of the Spanish people mixed with the black Africans. We have a little bit of Chinese, Lebanese, French, and also English.
Yeah.
So that's why we say that Cubans are like an ajiaco. Do you know what ajiaco means? It's like a
Ajiaco.
Mexican dish. It's a soup
Oh.
that is made of different kinds of
Different things.
vegetables
Oh,
and,
okay.
and meats. So
Ah.
that's why we say ajiaco. It's like a
Ajiaco.
soup with a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah. What was the period that the English were running the place?
1762.
1762.
The English were in
So
Havana
very
City.
short time. Yeah.
Yes, during the only 1 year, 11 months to be exact.
Ah, okay.
11 months. That was a very bad experience to the
Yeah.
Spanish crown
Yeah.
because the English people were ruling in Havana during that period of time.
Yeah.
And it was by means of a negotiation the Spanish people made. They offered them to go to Florida, to conquer Florida, with the intention to continue ruling the Spanish crown here in Havana. The English accepted, they left Cuba, and we continue being colonized by the Spanish. Office of Gerardo Machado, that was the Cuban president during the 1920s. And right now we're having a restoration. It was also the Ministry of Science, Technology and Environment. And on the restoration, well, 3 years. Okay. We have 3 years of restoration, but it only took 2 years to build the national capital. So it's a big contradiction. 3 years. The restoration and only 2 years for building that amazing 2 years crazy building. Yes, only 2 years. So imagine how many millions it cost the construction of that building. It's beautiful. 5 years ago it was also a museum because the Cuban government preserved the presidential office and also the chamber deputies salon. To commemorate the birthday anniversary of the different presidents and heroes of both America, North and South. So we can see many monuments, for example, about Abraham Lincoln, Benito Juarez, Simón Bolívar, among many other presidents of both Americas.
Ah, okay. We got the Bolivara.
Well, also we have in Cuba a Chinese influence, and from here we can see the Chinese art. There, we have a Chinatown. I think
you do?
everywhere all over the world.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah.
Many restaurants with Chinese food, and many people, some of them are descendants, some others not, but it's one of the greatest business we have in Cuba. Right now the food is not so good, but anyway, they are there.
Well,
And the train, we always say that it's a kind of museum of all trains. But the truth is that they are going to be restored, and the historic city, they are trying to collect all of them there. We were one of the first countries in the Caribbean and also in South America with the introduction of this kind of transportation of trains, just to transport the sugarcane into the mill and also to transport people from one province to the other. And they are going to have a restoration there. Trains in Cuba were introduced during the year 1835. One classifications of cigars.
really?
Havana, and the best one is Cohiba. Right now it's not working as a cigar factory. It was created by Spanish architects as a pedestrian area, and also you are going to see many lions everywhere. That was a style of the Spanish people.
Yeah.
The image of a lion in a symbol of strength, of power, and riches also.
So it's like Las Ramblas in Barcelona.
Right.
And you're without all the market stalls.
Yes. Well, here to both sides, you are going to see many buildings with different architectural elements. For example,
Yeah.
to our left, we can see a Moorish element.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
more, the Arab people
Yeah.
building in Havana. It's a beautiful palace. It is a chain that is not restored yet, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful anyway. We can find Baroque elements, Art Deco, Art Nouveau, eclectic
Yeah.
style. So all kind of them.
Oh, this one's not looking so good.
Yes.
Es un mal edificio, ¿sí?
Edificio. Es un edificio. Asturianas and many others from So this Prado street ends in the Malecon Avenue. That then in the afternoon you are going to see that artery that for me is the most important one in Havana. The most important artery, Malecon Avenue, because it connects the eastern side of the city with the west side.
Okay.
So let's cross
This is, we missed her saying it, but this is the School of Ballet. Museum of Fine Arts.
There is a small boat or yacht used by Fidel Castro when he was exiled from Cuba in the year 1955 for going to Mexico. But in Mexico he tried to reorganize the war against Fulgencio Batista. And there when they were prepared, they gifted as a gift that yacht coming from Mexico to Cuba, to the eastern side of the country in Santiago, just to start the battle or the war against Fulgencio Batista, who was the last Cuban president during the 50s, one of those United States of America allies. Okay? So inside that yacht, as you can see, is very small, but there were 82 persons that came inside that boat.
Oh, is that the grandma?
Grandma's boat. Grandma because, like in English, grandmother.
Yeah.
Okay?
That was the name of the boat. And
That
that's why,
was the name.
that's why the newspaper is called.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So around we can see many objects and people that were used during the Bay of Pigs. That was the second North American invasion in Cuba. In the year 1961, that was the second American defeat in the Cuban island. And some other objects used during the missile crisis in Cuba in the same period of time.
Yeah.
So this pavilion is part of the presidential palace that is the one we are going to visit in a very brief way. Presidential office and also the Council of State and Ministers. The third floor for the residents and the last one, the fourth one, for the guard. he decided to transform this building into what it is, a museum, where they could show all the history of the Cuban people since the colonial time till the revolutionary process that is the one we are still living in. So the construction of the palace dates from the year 1920. At that time it was Mario Garcia Menocal, the president of Cuba. So he used all the contribution of a North American company, Tiffany of New York, was the one that made all the decoration inside the palace. As you can see, it's very luxurious, taking into account this staircase that is made of Carrara marble.
Is that bullet holes?
Yes, and also it has a small dome that was recently restored. If you look up, similar to the one in the national capital, but this is even smaller. The dome with the capital letter of Cuba, Republic of Cuba, and we can see some details of gold in each letter, and also some passages of the Greek mythology. Okay? So on the wall we can see some marks or impacts of bullets. Yes. It means that there was a great battle on March 13 in the year 1957. In this presidential parade, a group of university students tried to assault or to defeat Fulgencio Batista. That was a great battle that many people died and were hurt at that time.
Right.
Because Batista was informed about this and he could escape by means of a sacred door. A secret door.
Secret door, yeah.
A secret door. So here I want to show you one of the most important places inside the palace. This is like a reception salon where the balls and all the important meetings were made by Fulgencio Batista. Have a look at the roof or the ceiling. You can see a fresco made by the nephews of the Cuban president Mario Garcia Menocal. His name was Armando Garcia Menocal, that has depicts of the War of Independence during the year 1868, and also some other passages of the Greek mythology. I want to show you the terrace of Fidel Castro Ruz during the very beginning.
Oh, from here, from this balcony?
From this place.
Okay.
From this place. Outside we can see the old city wall created by the Spanish people. It's just that piece of wall.
Okay.
Around 22 meters tall. It took a long time to build the wall that divided the city into areas, outside and the central part of the city. It has 7 doors, but was demolished a year after. So its construction was in the year 1763. And 1 year later, it was demolished. It took more time to build that place that they were all crazy, those Spanish people. Very crazy. Figures of the Cuban Revolution. Here we have in the middle Fidel Castro Ruz, who was our president during more than 45 years in Cuba. Here we have Camilo Cienfuegos. He was an inseparable friend of Fidel and also Che Guevara.
Cienfuegos is the name of a place as well.
Cienfuegos is the name of a province we have in the southern part of our island.
Yeah.
But the name of Cienfuegos of the province, the name of the province belongs to a governor, a Spanish governor who was the one who founded the place.
Okay.
And had nothing to deal with
Nothing.
Camilo Cienfuegos. Cienfuegos, he died many, many years ago, exactly during the year 1960, when he was given a mission, a tour of inspection to El Camagüey in the eastern side of the country, and when coming back, the helicopter had an explosion in the air, and we couldn't find every remain of Camilo Cienfuegos. So he died being very young, but he was very popular because he was the commander-in-chief of the Cuban Army Forces. And Che Guevara, he was from Argentina, but he was a very internationalist person, and he came with Fidel Castro when Fidel was in Mexico, just to help us to be free from the North American
And he was a doctor, wasn't he?
country. He was a doctor, a dentist, exactly.
Oh, dentist.
He was a
Oh,
dentist.
okay.
A very brave man that made many, many good things in Cuba. He had many responsibilities on his charge in the Cuban government. He was the president of the National Cuban Bank. He was Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Industry. So he was a very, very good person for our people and for all the new system and process that was created during the very beginning of the revolution. In maintaining or maybe preserving all the presidential offices that were took in Cuba during the 20s, the 30s, and the 50s. And this salon is an example of that because this was Fulgencio Batista's office, the presidential office during the 50s. So everything, all the furniture you can see here now was left intact. Okay. So as you can see, we have some other important pictures. One of them is Tomás Estrada Palma, that was the one who signed a treaty in Cuba, the Plat Enmienda, that says everything about the Guantanamo Bay. Remember, we have the bay in Cuba in the east. That belongs to the U.S. government, and it was supposed that in the year 2000 they have to give it back to the Cuban government, but it never happened. Maybe right now with the new relations we are having with the American government and Obama, maybe they are going to give it back. And to the other side, we have Carlos Manuel de Céspedes. He was a very wealthy people, but he always opposed also to the Spanish conquest in Cuba, and he was the first one in giving freedom to slaves. So we obtained freedom of slavery in Cuba during the year 1898. So we were one of the latest islands in the Caribbean in having freedom of slavery. On his desk, if you wanna make a telephone call to London, so I invite you to use a telephone with gold details, the typewriting machine used by Batista and the phone.
And this is Batista, is it?
No, that's Jose Marti. Jose Marti, you are going to find it everywhere. Now I'm going to show you a picture about our country we're taken here by those men. We have there another portrait about it here because I want to show you many details during the period of the foundation of this palace that the Cuban president was Mario Garcia Menocal, the one that is presiding in that table, surrounded by many important figures. And here I want to show you during the year 1952 by a coup d'etat made by Fulgencio Batista, who was the first mulatto obtaining a presidency in Cuba. The same happened with Obama, the first mulatto, all the things that have to deal with discrimination and so on. But he was the right man for those Americans just to make everything they wanted him to do. Many people think that Fidel Castro, since of the Cuban Revolution, the star means solidarity, peace, and the blue color represents the color of the sky. Che Guevara and Camilo Cienfuegos, they were represented by a Cuban sculptor as if they were in combat. Okay, like if they were in the Sierra Maestra mountain range. It is one of the most mountainous areas we have in Santiago de Cuba, to the east of the Cuban country. loved by the Cuban people because they started giving homes and houses to those people who didn't have where to live during the capitalist process in Cuba. So there were many people who were confiscated their properties, and Fidel Castro started himself by his own family because he was also rich.
Right,
So
yes.
he confiscated his own properties, and then he started with the rest of the people in Cuba who were very wealthy, and those houses were given to the poor people. So the revolution was made in Cuba in the precise moment that the people were needing a change and not a capitalism. So the victory was possible thanks to the support of the Cuban citizens that were the ones who gave support to Fidel Castro, to Che Guevara, and to Camilo Cienfuegos to obtain the victory. But once more, Che Guevara and Camilo Cienfuegos, some of his personal stuff.
Come on. Wait on the 67.
Quite small feet. Quite small feet.
A small bit.
Not that big. Oh, maybe I want to get downstairs.
A little bit.
Central area of Cuba when he proposed the derailment of a train.
Oh, I saw a film about that recently.
Imagine that Che Guevara had only 300 revolutionaries, 300 men, and Batista had 3,000 men. So imagine it was almost impossible
Yes.
if Che didn't have the support of the citizens. One of the traditional areas downtown. As you see, this area is connected with the central part of the city, and only taking this street, we get to the historic center of Havana. We are going to visit many squares, important squares in Havana that were founded by the Spanish people. And so we are going to see mainly the colonial architecture in Havana. We can see this castle, the Apares Castle, made by Spaniards also, or the fortifications, or small fortifications that have been protected against forces of pirates during the 16th century. Right now, in the case of this castle, was To our left, we are seeing some archaeological founds. It is part of the old city wall that we saw a piece of it
Yes.
outside the Revolution Museum. But here we can see some remains of this old city wall. As you can see, it was very big. Actually, it's beautiful.
Oh, it is.
The red color.
Very nice. Get some of the interior, I think.
Well, to try one of these in England,
Yes.
it'll be like, whoa!
On the building to our right is a seminary, okay? For priests.
Oh, great.
With Baroque elements.
It's a nice contrast, Baroque and that.
A great contrast. Is this? It is called La Moneda Cubana. Have a look at the roof. It has a wonderful view to the entrance of the bay and to the Havana's port. And also a middle salon where you can have all kinds of Creole or international shrimps, lobster. So that's the case, for example, tomorrow or during the evening, if you don't have meal included in your hotel,
Yeah.
so this is one of the most wonderful and nice places to come
Oh,
and
good.
just to enjoy. This is one of the experience you should have in Cuba. One of these paladares. It's 18th century. It was made in the first time by a Jesuit order. The Jesuit people were expelled from Cuba because they entered into a conflict with the Spanish crown, and so they could finish only the facade of the church that is totally Baroque element. Have a look at the stone that was taken from the sea when our island was completely virgin. So as we approach a little bit, we can see some corals and seashells.
So which
on it.
century did you say this was?
Yes. Well, the inside area of the church was finished by a Franciscan order. You are going to notice the difference. There is a great difference because it's Baroque element outside the facade, but inside is totally neoclassic. It's Catholic, it's still in use.
Yeah.
And around you are going to find many palaces that were owned by marquis and counts during the colonial time. Very wealthy Spanish families who own this kind of buildings everywhere in old Havana. Right now transformed into restaurants, into museums. For example, we have back there the Art Colonial Museum, the one that has all the techniques used for building each building with colonial style here in the cathedral square. Let's have a look inside the church, please. Well, this have to do also with the Santeria or syncretism, how the black people. The black people were obliged by the Spaniards to go into churches to be baptized inside the churches, and just to keep their traditions and their belief, they tried to put to each virgin, Catholic virgin, inside churches during the 18th century. It is called the General Captain Museum. Okay, the one that shows the style of living of those Spaniards who were settled and conquering the island. As you can see from the architectural point of view, is Baroque element. The portico, the main entrance to the palace, is Carrara marble, imported from Italy, a very expensive marble during those period of time. And this building is going to be a fine example of the Cuban Baroque element.
What was that?
The government used to have the siesta at noon. And at noon there were many carriages and cars passing through this area. They asked their husband just to replace the area, just to put some wooden cobblestone, just to avoid noises. So this is the only piece of a street of its kind in the whole island, with that intention. Of course, it's not original. Every each month, 6 months, they have to restore the place. But it's very funny what those people did. It was one of the most important churches in Cuba that was destroyed by means of an explosion in the port, in the Havana port, by the invincible chief that provoked many damages to the church. So they demolished the church, they built the government, this Spanish government house here, and the church was moved to the cathedral. Nowadays we have the cathedral. Civic Square, because it's a lively place where many people can walk around, although this is the historic center and this is our heritage. You, as a Cuban, have the right to walk around everywhere, to sit on benches. And military, because we have another fortress just near to this. But in the middle of the square, we are going to find another monument about Carlos Manuel de Céspedes. We saw this guy inside the railroad. Office, and to take a picture with them cost one CUC each. It was one of the safest fortifications by the year 1577. So safe that the Spanish people used to keep the treasure inside. It has a Renaissance style from the architectural point of view, and nowadays it's the ceramic museum. Ceramic. The place for the Havana's foundation, exactly under the shade of that tree that we call ceiba. It was a sacred tree for Africans and Native Indians. And every November 16 that we commemorate an anniversary of the foundation of our city, we give 3 rounds and we throw some coins to the tree. We ask a wish. Of course, that is possible for the one who lives nearby. And behind we have a small temple from the year 1828 that inside keep 3 important paintings made by French painter Jean-Baptiste Vermeer. He wanted to represent the first mass made during the foundation of Havana, and also all the Spanish people from the high bourgeoisie who participated during this celebration. Pineapples in each column means that they are the queen of the Cuban fruit. They are the most important fruit from Cuba. Our next stop will be here. We can approach if you want,
What is it?
just to see the carnival.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, yeah.
Michael Douglas, Denzel Washington, many more. And as you can see, we don't have any limits for smoking cigars.
Yes.
We have cigars and pumps completely
No pictures in Egypt.
Okay.
in front of this square.
Sorry, what is that?
Cruise ship that is still come. The terminal of cruise ship.
Oh,
Cruise ship.
okay. Oh, okay.
There we have one of the luxurious and more expensive restaurants in all Havana, Café del Oriente. We have one of the newest hotels. San Felipe in Santiago de Bejucal was recently opened as a hotel.
Oh, right.
And San Francis of Assisi's convent that is not working as a convent right now because it was transformed into a concert salon because of the perfect acoustic it has inside. The fountain, commissioned by the Villanueva's Comte, it was the one used by the sailors for having potable water.
Smile.
top of them.
Most famous restaurant, one that you can listen music live, see, like the Buena Vista Social Club.
Okay.
The traditional music. I think that the Buena Vista Social Club have a performance also at Cohiba Melia Hotel.
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
if right now they are performing there at Havana Cafe nightclub. That is besides Cohiba Melia. Have you heard about that? No.
No, I saw a sign about something
Well, the
like that.
traditional music is the
Yeah.
one performed by the Buena Vista Social Club.
Good to do that.
Yeah, but we have it. We have it. That is called Old But this was one of the first ones being built in Havana and was used only as a car park.
Really?
Yes. Around you're going to see many pictures with buildings that were recently restored, how they were during the colonial times and how they look like right now. There we have an example
Oh,
of
okay.
the good restoration we are having right now in
Great.
Havana. It's great,
Very
it's
good.
fantastic,
That's
fantastic.
the
And it's very colorful. And have a look at the stained glass window that were
Oh, wow,
introduced
yes.
in Cuba during the 18th century. Wonderful. The fountain in the middle is a symbol of advance of development of the city.
Qué lindo tatuaje, compadre. ¿Cuánto vale en tu país?
No, lo hice en mi país, weón. No, lo hice en mi país.
When the harvest is over, people go back. The people who go to the plantation don't live in